There we go. Hello, hello, and welcome to another Friday stream here at Strange Loop Games. And my name is Jens. I am working as lead game designer here, and today we are gonna go into a bit of an abyss. It's a very complicated subject. It's a very in-depth subject. And unfortunately our develop branch is a tiny bit broken at the moment, so you know, anything that you see is broken is probably not intended to be in such a state. Yeah, among other things, the icons and some of the shaders are kind of busted, as we recently did a full Unity version upgrade, double time over. So yeah, stuff is a little bit more volatile than they usually are. So just, you know, bear with me. But yeah, so the subject of today is repairability, economical, kind of continued economical impact, and decay in a sense. And hope people are with me and you can hear me and everything else is working as it should be doing. I am here, right? I'm not just being crazy about it. I'm presuming, because I see things happening. So, interesting. Yeah. Hello, Elmai. Let's get that down, and let's get that down, and we got just hopping in on my local server here so we can start having a go at it. So yeah, repairs, and repairs. And as I teased a bit with some of the tooltips in the White Tiger channel, and one of the comments being like, I've never been so eager and anticipating something to break as much as I have now. Let's see if this lets me come in. There we go. So this, you know, it might be a bit destructive. We might get a few crashes, but you know, we'll power through here. See if it tone that down a little bit. Yeah. So first off, all our icons kind of broke with it, but yeah, it is what it is. It'll hopefully be fixed fairly quickly. But as of the topic, maintenance and tools, and in particular the decay, destruction, and the deterioration of them. So we have, I have been long eyeing kind of details of the game and parts of the game where you kind of, it's one-off purchase kind of thing, where we want them to be interactive and have a continued economical drain, such as tools using, you know, they scale down with durability and they get broken, you repair them, and kind of cycle through. However, a pet peeve on the kind of garbage generating part of it, because we do want eco to move more towards, or you know, not move more towards, but add more depth into the cyclic generation of garbage. So, you know, you accumulate crap that you build, you accumulate garbage, and you need to deal with kind of recycling and so on. So we kind of wanted to scale up on that and kind of give that a proper investigation and hop into. So we redid a lot of the repair system, and it was a big feedback on the 10.2 playtest, which is for anyone that hasn't noticed the announcement on Discord, it's gonna be going live on Monday as the target date. So hopefully that'll just fluently work when they're pressing the button. But anyone that do not want to upgrade to 10.2, which will involve kind of new stuff, new craft tables, recipe changes, a new specialty, and they want to just keep rolling on their old world as is right now, just continued for the rest of that cycle, make sure to opt in, have the server opt in to that specific branch rather than just none, which would give you that update automatically. So bear that in mind. If you do choose to do that, it's going to stop you from receiving automatic updates, which means you're not going to see servers if they move over to another upgraded version. So there is that. Hello, Elpin. But yeah, so we reshuffled repairability. You still do it in the same manner. You grab a tool. It's, you know, you've used up your tool, and you interact with a repair station, or as of 10.2, you also have the grindstone. And it works kind of the same way. You go into repair. Now, you have a repair material tab here, which allows you to drop in material on bulk. However, the changes that we have has kind of come with a twist. And let's see if it actually plays nice with me now. Yeah. So all tools now have entities and set to be able to use multiple different types of repair costs and repair items, which previously was only linked directly to one specific type of item. And I also have my cats are rummaging around in the background, so ignore them if you're hearing them. Which is a brand new concept. So previously you'd have like iron tools were repaired with iron bars, and that's it. No other alternatives and no options. You always had to use iron bars. This is, so to clarify, which, you know, I was kind of eagerly jumping into new things that we're working on. This is not intended for 10.2. It is intended for 10.3 at the moment. It's currently on our developer branch for people that have access to it. And it's just, you know, new stuff. Since 10.2 is getting ready to be deployed, it's going to be released on Monday. I can kind of leap into new stuff, because doing these streams are a lot of fun, and it's always cool to kind of get discussions going, and you know, getting some pre-feedback on while we're working on these things actively, instead of kind of getting a bunch of feedback after the fact, and then we have to, you know, kind of round back and redo things. So it's nice to just get these discussions going prior to us being completed with them, so we can kind of adapt them on the fly. So any cost, relations, values, percentages, and everything, it's all just testing phase. So, you know, take them with a truckload of salt. But yeah, so some of the really big things is it allows us to repair things with multiple different types of objects. It adds a layer of complexity in that regard with, you know, what if these objects aren't equal to each other? Like in this case, I've got gasoline or biodiesel for repairing the chainsaw. And what we also have added into that is, let's see if I can pull this out here and it not crashing on me. So you have a few new things and bits. You'd repair them in independent. So the two units are just to completely repair the item to maximum health. So you have a few new things that's coming in with this as well. So not only are you able to use multiple different things to repair them with, but you are also we're also having a way to reduce impact maximum durability of an item as it's getting repaired, which means it'll permanently be reduced by that factor, depending on the methodology of your choice in repairability. So in this case, it has the same penalty regardless if you're using gasoline or biodiesel to repair them with. So if I do, grab the chat in there, give gasoline. If I grab one piece of gasoline here, drop it in, and I repair it. Well, need 2 because I haven't fixed that part yet. But yeah, so split repairs isn't plausible at the moment, but yeah. The intention is that you're gonna be able to be repairing it to a scaled percentage of the material cost. So if it costs 2 units to repair, if you repair it with 1, you get 50% of that repaired to it. So you know, still work in progress and things that we're poking at. But here you can see chainsaw has been repaired, and it's reduced the maximum durability from the original 400, which is the chainsaw, down to 379. So now that chainsaw max durability is 379, which means anytime you repair an item, it's gonna decrease the maximum durability of that item, which means eventually it's gonna be pointless to repair it because it's just not gonna be worth the material cost, and you're better off scrapping that tool and buying a new one. Which is introducing 2 big pieces on the kind of garbage recycling puzzle that's been missing for a long time with the tools. It's one, you know, you kind of have a finite quantity of tools that you if you have 400 people on a server, you're only gonna need to craft, say, 600 chainsaws, because you only ever need 1 per person, and then maybe 1 extra to swap in for repairs at the moment. But there is a static limit in how many tools you need to craft, which is something we really didn't like, and something that we really wanted to delve into and see how we can figure out how to deal with that. And one of the big things that kind of stood out easily enough is, well, what if tools are just not perfectly repaired every time you repair them? And then dive kind of into the rabbit hole of that and see, which part do we want to impact with, where do we want the benefits to come from, the durability drain costs and relations in between them. Question is, will stores be able to reduce the prices of refurbished gear by prorated durability? Yeah, so in the tooltip here, you can see that we now have a new entity here for this tooltip. Not on, you've got the durability, you've got the repair cost, but you also have this max durability that has been reduced. So this is a value that you'll be able to set in the store. So you can only, you can accept tools that have been repaired to a certain percentage at a lower cost and have more entries in the store for it. But the store UI and implementation is something that we're looking to kind of see how we wanted to implement it in a neat fashion. So that's not yet done. Still, coming out of 10.2, this is something that we really delved into and it's just going in. Yeah, so the drain of it is based on the use for it. So whether you repair it when it's been used, if you use it 10 times versus if you're using it 150 times, the general max durability is not going to be related to how much you use the tool. So you're not going to have a static, it's going to do 10% every time regardless of how much you've used it. So that thing is dynamic. So you have that. The second part of it is, because we can do multiple types of repair items, we can also do different tiers and different complications in how these things are costing in relation to each other by introducing multiple different types of bad choice. The only one I didn't change. So here you can have the penalty for the max durability can also be related and set within the items themselves. So you can have, you know, higher technology-based repair products will reduce the quantity of durability you destroy on the tool for each repair with that item. Added with the fact that you can also alter and change out the actual value and material worth of that item for that as well. And then you also have another factor for the level of the skill related to repairing that specific tool is also open up to be used for reducing it further. Yeah, the store problem is probably gonna be the toughest part of it. And it's definitely something that we're looking at because we do want it to be convenient enough to deal with varying product ranges. And so on. So there's a few quality of life things that we're looking at for the store that we kind of want to get in, but it might not be a 10.3 thing. It might come later. And then with as a kind of plot twist, store tags, the good old store tags. I'd like to get them in, but they're more complicated than you'd think. And it's related to kind of how the inventory looks, scans, and uses different types. But you know, who knows? But yeah, so the last thing for kind of the tool part of it is it also allows you to set the value of repair efficiency for the table. So we can have different workbenches that you can repair in that gives different penalties depending on basically the area. So we can have the crude starter tool bench, which is the worst one to repair things in, and then we can add workbenches that have other requirements like running electricity and so on and so forth, or just a grindstone that needs to be indoors, that are better at repairing tools. You get more out of the tool the higher tier stuff you use. So you know, it'll be, you go from stone tools, but you can still repair with some of the stone tier things, but it'll have a higher impact rather than opting for later tech stuff, or say, you know, that mechanic is offline, so I can't get this piece. I'm gonna need, but you know, you don't get locked out from using that fancy tool. You can opt to take that economical penalty and repair it with something worse. So there's a very, very high volume of economical impact situations here, but it allows enough flexibility for both on our side to kind of adjust the values to see the generative garbage that we want to see out of the system, but also gives a much bigger economical drive to be more involved in a lot of these what would often be side kind of items or obstructive items in the general progression of things. But all in all, we're pretty stoked up to see more of these longer term potential impacts, and it gives people more of a reason to kind of opt for later tier tech and really push for it and kind of use it more. Can we bury these unwanted old tools? Now I have some ideas on that for adding some tags with like recyclables. So you basically use different crushing methods or burning them to kind of get rid of them rather than pile them in a chest somewhere and hide them away. So there's some things coming there as well, but it's not ready on the branch yet. I'm kind of working through the tech tree at the moment to kind of give each item the correct cost and so on. Yeah, so the general idea is you crush a tool and it'll output, depending on the tag the tool is associated with, it'll give you like wood garbage or metal scraps, and you can recycle, you know, turn it into something useful again. So that's definitely going to be coming with this change as well. And then we're probably going to enhance on that later on for all the production stuff across the board with a later update. But yeah, you will have a way initially to recycle broken tools, yes. So yeah, that gives us a huge flexibility in this, and it also gives the modders quite crazy things as well, because you can only do oh hey Nea, I'll come into that in a minute here, because we do have a lot of things rolled up for the entire thing. So this piece of the puzzle is what is referred to as like part of the maintenance package, and we've got 2 of those pieces coming in, most likely coming in 10.3. I'm gonna word it carefully here. Oh yeah, Edgar, you are correct. It just threw in names there. I haven't really polished the names, and they're also all missing kind of descriptions and whatnot. So you know, it's a prototype. But yeah, so with this, it should give the modders quite crazy enough opportunities to kind of delve into tweaking things the way they want them to. We still want to have a reasonable, good mid-tier level for the general experience in Eco going in, like vanilla. But you can also do things like adding to max durability with repairing with certain items. You can do like, you know, boosting things with items and all kinds of craziness with this mod wise. So I'm hoping everyone's gonna have crazy things going on. So that's it for general tools. It's building, upkeep, maintenance coming in this, or is that later? It'll be a later thing. If you're talking about like general utility blocks like property maintenance or whatnot, it's a bigger topic, and it's slated for much later during the year, if prior to 1.0 at all. And it's definitely a big topic for discussion as well. And at the moment, what we have planned for this particular package, whichever update this goes into, which freaking cat, is gonna be tools and workbenches, and that's subject up for next here. Edgar, yeah, no. So you've got multiple choices. So each item can be repaired with a few different pieces, and then these pieces are crafted by the general things. Hey, Satsuki, that is actually an interesting topic for the next one. Let's see if I can spawn. Did I have an item that I reasonably used and added this for us? Let's see. I think I went overboard on the sawmill, but we can take let's grab an automatic loom. Bring my chat box in here completely. Slash dump all slash give automatic loom. So on the on garbage and recycling and everything and maintenance and all the costs in between, it's basically, like I said, it's basically divided in like 5 parts or 6 parts. It's tools, it's vehicles, clothing, blocks, and work tables. And then you have housing as the offset, and each of these are going to be interacted with or dealt with slightly different, or they'll have slightly different results from them, but the general goal is to add a lifespan to everything, essentially. As per upgrades, there is a different plan for upgrades in general. but you know, it's a different subject, and the reason why we didn't opt for upgrades being a decayed entity is because it's directly related to cost reductions of items. And if we added decay to the upgrades and they just stop the machine, they're working no differently than the general parts and the functionality of the maintenance stuff that we've added. So it was like a double effect, but doing the same thing. So we opted for the upgrades to not have wearability. That said, it doesn't stop people from doing that, but we do have a longer plan for upgrades be more of a permanent thing to tables, rather than be able to kind of switch them out, upgrade them individually, and so on. So, you know, it's a deeper subject, a different stream, but we do have a plan to kind of rework upgrades a little bit to kind of what they initially were intended to be. Yeah, so, you know, it's on that 1BU4 to rule all factories. No, so the on the upgrades, the basic principle is each worktable would accept all different modules and all upgrades. So you have a basic upgrade, an advanced upgrade, and a modern upgrade, and they go into all worktables. You don't have basic in only the primitive stuff, and then advanced in only the mid-tier stuff, and then the modern in the late tier. You'll have all three variations going into each table, and then that would add requirements to the table to kind of scale the upgrades of that table with the era. So it's, you know, like I said, it'll be its own stream. It'll have a bit more of a UI change and a bit of interactability change. It's also going to mean that all the variations of the upgrades are generally going to be scrapped in terms of the 1 to 4 versions of them. But it's like I said, it's a different topic. So for the maintenance stuff, we have some new status updates here. As you can see in the tooltip for the status, we've got all parts in this automatic loom is working, and it specifies what parts it has and what durability they are at. And just want to reiterate that all the percentages and all the values here are not finite. It's gonna be changed. It's just for testing purposes. Don't get too panicky about it. But yeah, so all worktables at the moment are getting an addition to using different components and different parts that goes into them, and these have a drain as you're using the worktable, which you would need to replace or repair depending on which one, because we can also repair these things. In some ways, some are going to be just scrap, some are going to be, you know, just basically consumables. They'll break down, you'll need to scrap them or, you know, deal with them somehow. Some parts can be repaired or polished up, but the same thing works there. If, you know, these parts lose durability as you're repairing them as well, so, you know, it kind of cycles in on itself. Yeah. No, so a few bits that were super important to me, at least, looking into this, is one of the things is worktables cannot be impacted in a direct same manner, because worktables are linked to you have the storage tab, which you have set up filters. You may have your arrangement of things looking one way. You might have different outputs, inputs selected. You have work orders queued up, labor added. So there's a lot of dynamic pieces in here that would cause the user direct loss by having them kind of be forced to pick them up and place them down. Hence why that whole idea of worktables degrading over time and you have to completely replace them went out the window kind of immediately. Hence why we kind of opted to have consumable parts inside the work tables, because people are already kind of accustomed to how modules work, and it works kind of in the same manner, but you have these individual parts that relate to them. Hey, Armored. And at the moment I kind of shuffled in a few pieces in here that are just in general give you an example on like, hey, you know, you can basically take any item, add the set value to that item, and from a modding perspective, and have it inherit from part item rather than item, and then you can just shove it in and have that be a requirement in that table. But it adds, it means that you can add more value across the board. It means basically the base cost of the crafting table be reduced, because they now need parts also to start. Large volume of the recipes, I'm opting for using parts that are already included in the crafting table, so you know, they kind of account for those parts. Yeah, so, you know, like I said, the percentages and everything is going to be shuffled around. Like, we're going to be testing around with like 5%, 10%, and see kind of where we're landing in, and so on. And then, you know, as always, balanced things are never, you know, the work never ends. It's going to be continued tweaking, and we're going to run playtest for it, and we're going to see how that turns out, and you know. But it feels like we're into a pretty good, solid system in really pushing for economical incentives to kind of stick around, keep producing things, and everything around it. And the parts are not limited to just, you know, one unit. You can set this cost to whichever, and I think I did that on the sawmill just to... Did I fix that? Yeah, I changed that out. Let me grab an item that have multiple pieces. Did I have one left? Maybe not. No, I didn't. Anyway, but yeah, so you can set it to use, you know, you need 5 iron saw blades to run this, and then it won't run unless it has all 5. And the loom would take a basic circuit and fuse in the recipe, or will they appear as pre-installed parts the first time it's being placed? It's a bit of a both thing. Because basic circuits are already part of the recipe for the loom, in this case. And that's kind of where I'm opting for an initial pass on it being. So, you know, if the sawmill uses a static iron saw blade as its recipe, which is then basically being the part that's installed in it. The shaper has pistons in it, and piston being the consumable for it, and so on. So it shouldn't impact and make things more costly than they are right now. It might change out the costs slightly, but it's generally not gonna, you know, add 5 new things you need to have on them, and so on. Yeah, grab a regular loom. Yeah, here we go. Here I have multiple pieces in it. As an example on how this could be looking. Sort of, because the loom is made with like 16 linen yarn or something. If I can remember. Yeah, so you get 10 linen yarn. I reduced the wood boards here and added wooden gear. Yeah, so vehicles come up on both Twitch chat and YouTube chat here now, so maybe I should bring into it. Did I comment that out? Yeah, I did. Maybe I should just uncomment that and recompile. Essentially, vehicles are subjugated to the same thing. So there are a few quirks with it that might not be done for 10.3, which is why I'm not immediately including it. Because the general goal of parts being part of vehicles, as they will be part of vehicles as well, just kind of clarify that they will be part of vehicles. You will have parts inside vehicles that will decay over use. However, gonna be like Oregon Trail where we need to carry wheels because our cars fall apart. No, but the general goal of the vehicle parts is that they'll be directly tied to attributes of that vehicle. And at the moment, as when a cart breaks in the current iteration of it, it just completely disables the entity. So a craft table cannot craft anymore until you replaced it. And that's something we absolutely did not want on vehicles. We don't want people to, you know, run out of a wheel in the middle of nowhere and they have to walk half across the world because the only place they can buy a new wooden wheel is in the jungle over 2 rivers away and up a mountain. So one of the things that we wanted to do was make sure that they're not disabled, but they do impact the attributes of the associated type. So for example, vehicles would be having movement decrease. And like fuel consuming vehicles would have multiplied fuel consumption or generating more pollution, etc. So there's a few directly tied attributes that is in there. They really should become disabled, especially if it's a wheel. Well, you'll suffer. It'll be a movement reduction for it to, you know, you're gonna suffer for dragging the cart all the way back with a broken wheel, but the goal is not to completely stop you from being able to do that, due to how the game operates and the general population on a server might be very varying. It's also in relation to people might be playing from completely different time zones on a server, and you know, you don't want to have your cart or your truck stuck in the middle of nowhere without being able to get it out of there, and so on. Will that also increase the use of calories for pushing, pulling broken carts? Yeah, it'll have some impact in that manner. So there's a lot of things in that balance-wise that can really be pushed to its limit, but also for its interactability as well. Any chance we can get some filters on the economy viewers? Would be nice to only see offerings from shops using a particular currency, for instance. Yeah, an overhaul to the economy viewer is it's kind of planned. We've got some quality of life things we want to add in there, and shuffle things around. However, any kind of rejigging of the UI is quite an endeavor across the board. So it'll be its own kind of thing, because currently we've got a rework of the crafting UI that's coming up that has a few new cool features that will probably help some people. There is talk of a search bar, you know, just saying. Tags for stores. That would be nice, wouldn't it, Armored? Hopes and dreams. Maybe I should do. Let's do that. Spawn sawmill. See if things explode or if they work the way I want them to. /part decay, I think. Yeah, I think so. Or was it decay parts? I can't remember. It's new commands added. I didn't add a command. Seems to be like it, but it's not decay. It was part decay. I can't spell apparently. Why are you not? It doesn't seem to like me now. Typical stream thing. It works before stream and then you test it out and it just doesn't work. But there is... It's supposed to be working. It's a debug command. So, you know, the debug command being broken is fantastic. Essentially, the command is just supposed to be adding multipliers for things. I know it worked for the vehicles, but it seemingly doesn't work for crafting tables at the moment. So I'll have to dig into that. Can you see the parts of an object has in a shop screen? That is something that is being added at the moment. So when... Let me see if I can actually do this. If we cancel that project, just to kind of give a good... Let's actually grab that. And let's do inventory durability. Set that to 50% durability. Then we pick you up, and then we can. I know there's a bug at the moment where it just always generates with a new one if it's a new entity. But essentially, you pop that in there, and then it goes, hey, it's got 50% durability. But yes, you can pick it up, and inside here, it has specifications for if it has parts in it and what durability the part is at. So that is all details that we kind of want to fit in somewhere in the economy viewer, as well as in the store visibility as well. So that's hopefully going to be something that helps people out a bit. Can you set it so selling to stores will automatically place the repair item in the right slot, similar to selling fuel to a power plant? I actually haven't tested that out yet. But it would definitely not be a reach, so you can, you know, buy parts. We'd also need the item to be expunged from the entity when the part is destroyed, if it has a linked inventory into it. Panda's gonna hate having to update this calculation to account for degradation. Oh yeah, no, it's a pretty substantial change. And one of the things that at the moment isn't ready yet, I was hoping to have that done, but kind of escaped time and space, and that is general world objects that we want to have degradation / decay or consumables on, but not directly tied to crafting entities, which is currently the limitation. And that is things like power generation. So things like windmills, water wheels, wind turbines, and so on and so forth. They're all gonna have degradation to them, and before everyone's just you know gets into an uproar of like, oh, but I need 432 different machines to you know to get this going, or my massive field of wind turbines. What is going to happen with those? Well, at the moment, generally what's happening from me is I've only ever really had the material cost for crafting the entity as a way to balance what it outputs. And crafting tables have always had kind of this problem of you craft them once and then you never have to worry about crafting another one again. And having an item decay inside of it keeps the user from having to kind of fiddle around, pick him up, move him, and so on. But it gives a new nuance to be able to do that, especially for things that are everlastingly generating completely free stuff, such as the like fish traps, wind turbines, windmills, and so on and so forth. So they'll all have decayable entities, like hydropower dams. well, we'll see about electricity. I kind of want to have a water generation for electricity. It's something that I've been kind of opposing, because of the lack of decay and drain on costs. But it's definitely opening up a lot of possibilities with these new degradables. Are the old parts going to be eventually part of the new garbage system? Yes. All of this is going to be kind of tying into recyclables and everything surrounding it. But yeah, I'm hoping everyone is gonna. I mean, it's a new cost. It's there's no point in kind of hiding that under the rug. But it will open up a lot of market opportunities for people in the game, for different components and different parts that may not be super used at the moment. There's going to be a few new items that is going to be related to that, such as wooden gears. We got fuse, polishing paste, whetstone, and some general stuff. Different items may be repaired with different values, and so on and so forth. And as I'm prototyping it, and it's not really it's not fully integrated in the templating from the tech tree. Can do a little bit of a sneak peek on how that code-wise looks. Tags in stores. It's pending process essentially on the store things. We have a few things that we need to do for the store, to kind of account for the whole durability drain and system surrounding it. So we might be able to sneak in a few things that adds depth to it. But tags for it is fairly complicated in terms of how it kind of pulls data and costs and everything around it. So we'll see. Oh yeah, building upkeep. Building upkeep is essentially a stretch goal for 1.0, or it's probably not going to be done prior to it. And it's a bigger discussion in terms of how we want to treat it, how it would work mechanically, without interfering with players' experience. At the same time, it's also there are some ideas and plans for them. It's more of a evaluation phase of what would work mechanically for us, how much of a performance impact it would have in these different types of executions, that needs to be properly looked at before a decision is made for it. So I wouldn't say there aren't any plans for it, but at the moment I can't really share what the plans are because it's still being evaluated. But it's not gonna be something that happens within the next couple of updates. And we'll definitely have dev blogs surrounding it. It's gonna be a hot topic for discussion. But I wouldn't worry about it at the moment. Because we got some ideas for housing furniture that probably not gonna make it for 10.3, but it'll definitely rock some boats. Yeah, no, like the general consensus is blocks are not gonna disappear outright. So is there an idea on how these consumable items turns into garbage? If they're items, it's really easy to just bury them somewhere in a chest. Yes. It's like the consumable metal pieces in particular, but also the general wood and whatnot. They're always going to be, you can always tuck them away, but the general goal is to allow a recycling system for them so you can turn them into usable materials in some capacity. You might not get, you know, full value out of them. But the general goal is that we want people to recycle stuff, and either by, you know, using part of it as fuel or resmelting part of it and get some scrap metal back, so you can get some manner of resources out of them. So you kind of have that circulatory loop of you're constantly kind of losing material, but you don't want to sit on 58 chests of, you know, iron pickaxes, because it's a pile of garbage. Plus, it'll also mean that players working out again how much an object is worth when they're new, now that they have ongoing costs. Oh, it'll definitely throw some wrenches in people's very, very static kind of calculations for stores, and it adds kind of it adds kind of an inflation-ish in costs and relations, and like people spending time trying to deal with these things. But we do want to have a more organic world in that sense. We don't want to have it, you know, a static flat out 1 + 1 = 2 kind of scenario, but having players figure these things out, and having them kind of shuffling things around, and so on and so forth. Any plans on having electricity and power be rentable and not just available to everyone within the radius? Yeah, there are some plans for it, but it's more of a utility update thing, which it's on the planning board, but it's not at the moment planned for, if that makes sense. Like at the moment we've got 10.2 coming out of the door. 10.3 is we're jumping straight into 10.3 in terms of workload and kind of getting stuff done there, which will have a portion of the painting stuff and new block set and some other cool stuff that we'll have on other streams. And depending on how far the paintable stuff is, we might do the paintable as the next stream, or we'll do the block set. We'll see. Yeah, with clothing, decay is also kind of a stretch thing. We got some ideas for it, but we also have there's a bit of conundrum with it. But there's definitely going to be decay of some sort surrounding it. But we do have like unique clothing things, so we're looking at, for a lack of better word, basically like transmog stuff, similar to Warcraft, or, you know, doing like a vanity slot type system like a lot of the 2D platforms are using generally, to kind of keep clothing that you want to have the visual look of override the actual mechanical look on, or the mechanical like stat wise on the character. So there's a lot of things in there that needs to kind of go into it. Well, the problem with it is, the problem with clothing decay for that is we have clothing and wearables that you cannot craft. So you only have one entity of that, and we want people to be using these things like the Twitch rewards and like the Kickstarter stuff and like the packages and so on. But if those decay and they get destroyed and they're meaningless to have on you, then they completely lose their value of kind of having, you know, showing that off to your neighbor and seeing how cool you look. So we need to kind of get into a middle ground of a system where you can still use the look of that outfit on your character, because you want to be wearing it, but if it's decaying, then it's going to be destroyed and you don't want to wear it because you don't want to lose that item that is unique to you. So there's a few kind of quirks in it that needs to be solved prior to that. Oh yeah, I think the Alpenglow, the whole clothing overhaul mod is absolutely fantastic. I think it's pretty cool. And it's probably somewhere in that realm that we'll probably push for, to deal with like some sort of acclimatization for the character, so he's comfortable in hot temperatures, which reduces the restraints on clothing and so on. Armored, yeah. So I wouldn't make the decay to the point of being destroyed, making a swing kit item or something that we can use. Yeah, but the goal is to have them get worn out completely and need to be replaced. Same thing as we're looking at the tools at the moment, where we want people to have the tools be destroyed, and so on. So there's, there's a lot of opinions about it, and there's very, very high complicated things surrounding it, both in terms of tech-wise, how to represent it and so on. Sure, I mean, we can just make the durability infinite on them, but then some people have these infinite invulnerable clothing and never have to replace them, yet everyone else has to pay money to replace them. Then you suddenly get into an issue of, hey, why does this guy have a Kickstarter, hat that is OP because he doesn't have to pay things. Slightly unrelated note: do you guys have any plans for having more Twitch drops soon? Not at the moment. We'll see what we roll out with, but at the current immediate, not really. Yeah. And the whole pay-to-win thing is definitely something that we want to avoid in it, regardless if it's something that you actually pay for in terms of, packages, bundles, or whatnot, versus, a Twitch drop and so on, or etc., etc. And then you also have, as Shadow Umbra brings in here, it's like they need to be separated anyway, in a sense, because why would you have a hat that doesn't have stats, that just looks cool, versus one that gives me direct benefits in game that you cannot delve into? So it's a complicated subject, and there's a lot of opinions on it, and it's like, we don't just want to half-ass something and go like, hey, good luck with this thing. Stuff decay, stuff gets destroyed, and if you break it, you lose it, kind of thing. Hence why we want to make sure that it's done in the manner we want it to. Eco the fashionista game. But yes, there's a lot of things in there to discuss. There's a lot of things to come back to and kind of evaluate. And it kind of deserves a lot of attention, because it is a pretty big part of eco, in terms of kind of building your persona, building your kind of presentation, and it's part of a lot of things that we're adding currently in both in game content and just kind of customization in that sense, because we want people to be composing their stuff the way they want them to. We want them to build the houses like they want them to, and painting painting blocks and so on is a big part of that as well, to be able to give a color that you want, or customize it more. And we feel that the same kind of thing goes for the direct avatar and clothing and so on as well. So that is something that we're definitely looking heavily into. And that'll be its own kind of big epoch of a stream. Hopefully later on during this year. But we got a big list of things to get through. This being part of the maintenance, and the first view of maintenance, I should probably phrase it as, with tool decay overall, parts that goes into worktables, and worktables now have a continued cost to them. So anytime you're crafting things, you're actually having a related cost to that table. And it's something that we are looking at extending to all branches of craftables essentially. But yeah, hope everyone has enjoyed the stream. Been a lot of cool discussions and comments here, and people raised a lot of good questions, and I hope I answered most of them. As usual, you know, if there's anything else you're wondering about or have questions for or need help with things, the community is great. Hop in on Discord and either hop in on, you know, Dev Hangout, and I'll probably answer most of the things that I see popping in there. Armored. Any idea on when 10.2 is coming? Out of everyone in the stream here, was generally pretty active on Discord. Dennis posted an announcement yesterday, I think it was. I can't remember. With the release date for 10.2 being on Monday. So stay tuned for that. So, you know, if your server stuff isn't opted into the specific branch that is currently live, make sure to lock yourself into that version if you don't want to get exposed to 10.2 things such as the new profession and so on. Yeah, it's been a blast as always. Thank you everyone for showing up and all the great comments, questions, and everything. And yeah, the cats are fine. They're actually sleeping right now. Thankfully, they've been going crazy. But yeah, no, everyone have a great weekend. Thank you all for coming, and I'll catch you on the next stream, which will hopefully be in another 2 weeks. We'll keep doing these bi-weeklies, so we'll see what we have topic-wise for next week. The next stream, it possibly be painting, maybe. If not, it'll be the balance changes and the new block set. So I'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everyone.